The fact that after the first investigation a number of other forces have come forward doesn't surprise me. These investigations always seem to snowball. My guess is there'll probably be others in due course. In terms of the actual allegations, for the 4 years that I worked for him, which was 88 to 92, as his private secretary, we were overseeing every aspect of what he was doing for every minute of every day. And when I found out or heard these allegations yesterday, I was absolutely shocked, because there was no way in that 4-year period that he ever slipped away from either being in, I suppose, me observing what he was doing, or Special Branch, who were looking after him at the time, observing what he was doing, or when he was at his home in Wiltshire, the local police force in Wiltshire, observing what he was doing. And a number of it is in the public domain anyway, because records of who went in and out of his house were always kept, and they are public records now.
Did you ever hear any rumours about him?
Heard rumours about whether he was gay, which back in the 1980s perhaps was a frequent allegation that could be dropped. I think these days those sorts of allegations would just be dismissed. Who cares if someone's gay these days in reality? But in those days, 25 years ago, that was something that for someone who wasn't married could be an allegation put forward. I never had any inkling he was gay, if I'm honest. I thought he was asexual. I suppose if there was one time ever in those 4 years we had a conversation about relationships, it was ironically, I just told him I was thinking of getting engaged to my now wife. And he then went on to say that actually he'd had two, if you like, quite close relationships with women, that he did wonder whether they would ever gone the full distance, but never did. But never was there a discussion about any relationship with men. And certainly the idea of him being a paedophile is beyond my wildest dream. The allegations are out there now. They have to be investigated. I hope they're investigated swiftly, but then I'm absolutely sure that certainly through that period of sort of the 80s and the early 90s, there will be no evidence whatsoever, and this could hopefully all be put to rest.
You referred to some of the security that was around him as a former Prime Minister when you worked for him. Give us a bit more details on that. To what extent were Special Branch around him at all times?
When I was with him, when I first started working for him, he had Special Branch 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, home and abroad. During that period, when he went overseas, Special Branch was taken away from him. But domestically, in the UK, he would always have Special Branch with him. Or, so he goes to a restaurant, the next table is a Special Branch officer. And I should say an armed Special Branch officer. Sorry, that's just fallen out. But if he was... Sorry, bear with me. Thank you. Sorry about that. He'd also have his driver with him as well. So 2 people at all times with him, except when he went into his house, where, again, as I say, the local Wiltshire Constabulary would then man the gates and, sign people in and out of his house. But it was something, as a public figure, as a former Prime Minister, you get to live with. It's just part of the routine. But it does mean there is always someone who has a record of where he was. And just to say how far that extended, as a politician, on a Monday morning, if I hadn't seen him over the weekend, Monday morning, my first conversation would be with Special Branch to say, was there anything that happened away from what was in the diary? He might decide to have gone to the local pub, in which case, no doubt, I'd be expected to draft a letter to the public, the landlord, saying what a great meal it was, lovely beer, why don't you, get some of different sort of whiskey next time. So we would already be catching up to make sure we documented everything that was going on, even if it was outside what was in the formal diary. There will be records of all of this. I'm sure the police will be going through all these details, and I am certain, in the period when I knew Ted Heath very well, that there will be no grounds for any of these allegations to be anything other than dismissed as soon as possible.